Okay, as usual, we're sitting here chilling to some music, and hopefully everything's live. I say that every week. I feel like a broken record.
Well, Twitter just notified me and said, "Hey, you're live."
Oh, well, that's a good thing. Let's see. I just got my YouTube notification, so that's good. We're at least live on two platforms.
Yeah, so what do we got cooking tonight? You got any idea?
I don't know. We got several things. I mean, we need to do some kind of term limits update and let everybody know where that sits. I figured we'd talk about the Senate race because I think we have kind of an announcement we might want to share with everybody coming up.
We we do, and I would say that considering there's only a few people that are watching currently, maybe we need to delay that announcement.
Yeah, maybe we need to just drag out the intro for a while. But anyway, we'll figure that out and get to that. We got a few more people piling on now. We didn't talk about the Cypress District Dam situation last week in the show that I literally named "Damn It" for that. Because we went on for well a nearly marathon show of 3 hours. Anyway, we're going to talk about some of that. I've got a couple of videos from the last Cypress District meeting that I want to show about that. And, Robert Berry is just the gift that keeps on giving. And so we're going to talk some more about Robert Berry and, well, term limits. I mean, I guess that could be part of the term limits update.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear about that dam because I ain't heard nothing about that dam. I, I
Well,
just,
rumor has it that it's near the end of its useful life, and I don't know, maybe it needs some upgrades, maybe it needs some updates. I don't know. Renee Hall was talking about trees growing up in the side of it, and she was concerned about the roots, so I don't know.
or were they oak trees or were they pine trees?
Well, I don't know. Were they little saplings or were they, little, uh, not sycamore trees? What's the other stupid little trees that we all hate?
Oh, sweet gum with the
Sweet gum.
gumballs.
Yeah, sweet gum trees, or
I
I
mean,
don't know.
isn't that the state tree?
Pretty much it may as well be. But more importantly, along that, we need to show, and we've already posted, the Cypress District O&M, the operations and maintenance account balance and transactions, because we got those numbers back for the current one. And I don't know if we posted it, but I don't know if everybody's seen it. So anyway, we got lots to talk about there.
I got you, and we're gonna have to do a little bit of soul searching for everybody because I'm wondering if everybody is ready for what's coming.
Really.
I,
And
I
what might
I'm
that
just
now you have me intrigued here.
well, I have it on good authority that something's coming down the pipe and it's going to test the iron of everybody out there. It is going to come to your front doorstep again.
I
So
can
we're going to talk about that a little bit.
That should be interesting. Oh, and on the good news front, Oliver Anthony I just checked before the show, has four of the top 10 iTunes slots, including the top two. He overtook Jason Aldean's Small Town Song or whatever. I don't listen to that much modern country music, but anyway, overtook that. Oliver Anthony has the top two slots, and he's got four of the top 10.
Wow.
and and apparently has turned down an $8 million record deal so far.
Wow. I don't blame him. Man, that dude has shot to the top. Well, hey, let's go to our break and we'll come back and jump right into it. And like you always say, y'all help us out. Tag a friend and share it out. That's how we inform our fellow citizens and get them in the mix.
Sounds like a plan. Here we go. Countdown time. We'll be back in about 3.5 minutes. Grab your popcorn and a drink. Here we go.
If folks knew a lot of the back office on the politicians that they think walk on water, they would be shocked. There's an old wound from a knife in my back that just is giving me heck lately, and it's just really irritating. So I have to kind of wiggle around a little bit.
Well, I've not heard my name in stable or Baton Rouge in stable in the same sentence in a long time.
I titled it "A Shot Across the Bow of the Good Old Boys."
Just, they feel helpless, they don't feel heard, they have nowhere to turn.
Some Republicans as well
believe that government has the answers. And let me tell y'all something. I don't know anything government does well. Nothing.
Aren't there laws that say that you have public meetings so that the public can have accountability of their elected officials?
They're making a little bit of progress, but I would definitely have to give the race to Caddo Parish right now.
I don't know. Is there anybody from Plain Dealing watching, you think?
As a member of the media, I'm very concerned about what I've just heard.
Did you not requisition some money to fight against this or for it?
We hired a lobbyist, and it cost us $15,000. We were opposed to HB 630.
So for this week, folks, the cockroach of the week, according to Bossier Watch and Duke Lowry and Rex Moncrief, is
Raymond Croon's legislative assistant, Allie Feaster Smith. Thank you, Allie.
Well, I'm not thinking Star Wars at all. I'm thinking zombie apocalypse.
No way.
Okay,
It was not
okay.
David. You know it wasn't David Montgomery. David ain't gonna jump off in there with Chris. He ain't
Okay.
gonna do it. He'd as soon spit on him as he would even look at him. Man, this is a Mickey D's Krispy Kreme week. Didn't you know? Who's paying y'all? And if you're driving on the roads, are you safe?
It's on the road, yeah.
Well, I know you're on the road, but I mean, is this all folks coming from the border down there?
Yeah, it's going to border. It's actually going to Mexico, the buses.
Doesn't mean they interpret it the same way that I do. For instance, the Second Amendment. I take it very literally. That's been interpreted different ways in the court system all the way up to SCOTUS. Yeah, that's only going to cause more division that he claims he doesn't want to cause. And it's only going to cause more suspicion. We're still right now combined on both pages and YouTube at 264 people watching. That is amazing, folks. Coleman Project, the Walker Place deal, through conscious, shocking action. The purpose of their actions was to stop plaintiffs, being the Earl Coleman and associated groups not, from developing Walker Place. But here's the key thing, which in turn would enrich sitting city council members Scott Irwin and David Montgomery Jr.
You hit the button. Does that mean that people are seeing us sitting here talking and chatting?
In theory, it's an every week thing. We got to double check and make sure it's like a miracle any of this actually works. This Bossier Watch live broadcast is brought to you by the Outdoor News, fishing and outdoors for our area. Acadiana Mortgage, over 25 years in the mortgage business. Pelican Training and Consulting. Reach out to Julie Ferris. Tranzact Card. Unleash the power of your spending with Z-Bucks. Contact Renee Hall. Smarter Geek. Making technology easier. And the many supporters, donations, and folks sharing information and watching out for Bossier. Now, grab your popcorn and a drink. Here we go. And here we are.
Now, wait a minute. I gotta check in here on something. So I heard some amendments in there and some additions.
Yes.
Now, I heard something about 25 years. What exactly? What's going on with 25 years?
Well, your lovely wife, lovely bride, has reminded me repeatedly for weeks now that y'all have been in business now over 25 years. Now, technically, I've had on there over 23. That's technically over 25, but I figured I would help you out in the home life there and get that corrected and make her a little happier with me.
Well, she knows that I can't sway you one way or the other, so I guess she took it upon herself to get to sway you and was successful.
Directly.
But I did hear another change, and I'm looking at something on the screen. Did you say a Z card? Did I hear you say that?
Yeah, well, our good friend Renee Hall, Renee and David, they've, of course, been involved in the Cypress District saga and all that. Anyway, she is involved in this organization or company that is launching I'll just keep it brief and very simple. But it's basically a like a debit card with rewards. They call them Z-Bucks or whatever. And so remember the old days with green stamps back in the day,
Oh
where you
yeah,
got the green.
Berkshire's did disease.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
yeah.
collected the green stamps on it. It's kind of like that, but for every dollar you spend, you get some Z-Bucks and they accumulate, and you can go and spend them in their store and get some pretty cool stuff. So anyway, I signed up for it, and since she's new into it and promoting it and all that, she decided she wanted to sponsor us, which helps offset, some of the software costs because the software we use is not free. I use that program to do the transcriptions and those cool videos, and that's not free either. And the website and blah 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 blah. So anyway, helping offset it.
Yeah, and
Oh, and guess what we have, Mr. Lowry? We're gonna
oh,
have Bossier Watch hats
oh, how about that?
soon. Yes, we are. So
That will be cool. I
we
probably, some people, some of our viewers, they're tired of me torturing them with a Jeff Gordon hat. There, I said his name. That probably is making them. It's like scratching your claws on a chalk to some people.
Yeah, well, so we'll have our own hats. I'm having Destiny Collier up in Benton. She is, of course, related to our good friend Mike Collier. Anyway, she's got a company up there and all that along in Mike's offices and all that they have up there in Benton. She does, and I didn't know this, she does promotional materials and campaign stuff and all kinds of things. So,
I,
anyway,
I'm pretty
I'm
sure
going to
it's
have her
called
do the
Sar.
hats.
I'm pretty sure it's called Sarsh Technologies.
That it is. So anyway,
Yeah.
I think their website's is it Sarsh SARSH Tech.com. Anyway, so we're gonna pay her to do us some hats and all that sort of thing, and maybe we'll have a few giveaways, and we'll get some more coffee mugs done and that sort of thing. Maybe even some shirts, official shirts.
Yeah, well, hey, as we are about to get into it, into the meat and potatoes, you might say, we got a lot of folks putting a few messages and comments. I see David Bond is watching tonight on YouTube. Thanks, David. Terry Ferrier, and we've also got Barry Butler. He's tuning in apparently from France. I do know that that rascal, he was at a famous beach just the other day. You might know a little more about that than me.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, he shot a couple of videos, and full disclosure, I'm helping Barry out on the tech side with some of his campaign stuff as he is running for police juror in District 5. Make sure I get that right. That would be against your favorite person, Juliana Parks.
That brings a interesting subject. Hey, Shane Cheatham, we see you're there, and hey, if we didn't call your name, if you guys are watching, give us a shout out in the comments. We wanna acknowledge that you're here, and if you don't, if you're a politician, you don't want nobody to you're watching, you're sneaking. That's fine too. You don't have to shout
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
We're shouting out to you in spirit.
Exactly correct.
But on that subject that you're pointing out there, Rex, hey, uh, I was my favorite person. I saw her signs. I mean, she's out. The sign wars are going. They're everywhere, and she's got in big bold print, reelect,
Hmm.
reelect. I
Okay.
mean, if you put reelect, is that trying to infer that you did a good job?
I guess so. I mean, she obviously thinks she is worthy of re-election. We
Well, I
we
mean,
might
she's not
beg
the
to differ a little bit, but
she's not the only one that does it. I mean, all the incumbents put
oh yeah.
reelect on there, but when you put reelect almost as big as your name, I mean, I think you're trying to make a statement that you're worthy of being, reelected, that you did the will of the people. And that
Well,
don't you agree? Isn't that what you're saying?
I I would agree. I mean, let's face it. Philip Rogers is doing the same thing. He's got his signs up with re-elect on it, and he's got a tagline under his. I forget exactly what it is, but anyway, basically, yeah, it's the same thing. He thinks he's worthy of re-election, so we'll see. I know. Let's see who's running against Philip. Andy Monica's running against Philip, and then and I've got in our notes here we've got Robert Berry. I think what is he running for? District 6. Is that right?
I'm not sure the district numbers,
It's hard
but
to keep up. There's a bunch of people running this time.
Yeah. But he's running against Chris Marsiglia, and Chris doesn't really say a lot at the police jury meetings. I think Chris is a pretty good guy. I don't, you know, I don't know. I hadn't talked to Chris. I'd be interested to hear something in that race, but um, yeah, reelect. That infers that you've done something right. And the reason that kind of stuck out at me, so the sign war's going, and reelect infers that you've done a good job and that you're
Right.
worthy of being going back in there. And so as I was pondering that today, in between just today, two phone calls that I got regarding stuff pertaining to the Bossier Parish Police Jury. One phone call was regarding the Commercial Motor Vehicle Enforcement Unit.
We've kind of
And
talked about this briefly before. What's up with that? I mean, don't we have a
well,
what do you
we
18-wheeler truck drivers hate the not DOTD, the state guys?
you mean the
Oh,
possum cops? No. That's wildlife.
basic.
That's wildlife and fisheries. Sorry.
No,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. Wrong cops. The ones that are Mac Ward. I went to school at Ruston High with his son. He was
Yeah, the DOT guys, but
yeah,
these
DOT. I'm sorry.
but
Yeah.
these parish guys, they're not the DOT guys. But
But why do we have to have both?
well,
Maybe I'm getting off topic, but
apparently the parish. I mean, look, I'm gonna say it up front. I'm just gonna go and say it up front. I'm gonna say it up front. The parish needs to make money.
well, yeah.
They need to make money, so they and they say that all these horrible oil field people and these horrible, trucks are tearing up the roads, the parish roads that they're responsible for fixing. It doesn't matter that they pay taxes. It doesn't matter that they pay, heavy highway use tax every year that we are supposed to get a portion of funding from. All that doesn't matter, the increased tax. And I can tell you firsthand because I pay that crap. But that doesn't matter. We got to have these cops out there to regulate. But the phone, that's neither here nor there. The phone call that I got today talked about situations where uh, hazardous conditions are being created. For example, I was told a story today about a traffic stop of a water hauler.
Mm-hmm.
And this water hauler was stopped on a 2-lane road that was a substandard parish road in a curve with a hill. And so, and stopped, and like the driver was apparently seeking to, find a place, a commercial motor vehicle person for the parish, pull behind them, and they're going to, I do this. If somebody pulls behind me and they're going to check me,
Mm-hmm.
I would keep driving until I found a safe spot to park the truck that
Right.
wouldn't, that's just what you do. It's what I was trained to do when I was a fireman.
Mm-hmm.
But this guy, the driver didn't pull over. This guy zips around the truck and slams his brakes in front of the truck to make the truck stop in the middle of the 2-lane road in a hazardous spot, forcing it to stop, creating a hazardous condition. And I'm getting this from a witness that was there that wasn't a part of the stop, but witnessed the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, that is enabled by your existing police jury members. And I know this issue has been brought to the attention of the police jury. And I've heard stories that there's other circumstances where this has occurred, and yet nothing's done.
They just ignore it. Kind of like the whole Butch Ford situation. They just ignore it.
Well, it's funny you say Butch Ford because that was another phone call that I got today. And someone was talking about a lawsuit that they're embroiled in a situation where they're trying to build a house. And as a result of, and Butch Ford's name was in this, was as a result of actions by Butch Ford and the police jury, they're now going to have to spend a ton of money in legal fees because of an error on behalf of Butch Ford, which brings me to a question. Just how many lawsuits is Bossier Parish residents having to file, to to get good government? How much is it costing all the citizens of Bossier? And I think there might be a tsunami of lawsuits out there that we don't even know about because, Rex, you know as well as I, every couple of days we're getting messages about things going on pertaining to people in the parish and their interactions with the police jury. So if I'm it, and if you're a police juror, you know all these things are going on, and you're going to put reelect on your campaign sign.
Well, I mean, what else are they supposed to put? Don't vote for me? I mean, it's kind of like the catching your kid in the cookie jar. If he's got his hand on the cookie, he may as well go on and take the cookie out of the jar, even though you've caught him, and start eating the cookie.
But you run for office. All these, every race we have, every one of them, every politician is running saying, "Hey, I'm going to fix government. I'm going to fix." They all say, "I'm going to fix it. I'm going to fix all the problems." That's what they're saying. I'm going to work for you,
Well,
right?
but here's the deal, and so I'll help all the candidates out there. Usually, no matter who the candidate is, they're running on, they're a conservative, they're this, they're that. Most of them can't even define what it means to be a conservative, in my opinion. And look, I'm the first to admit I'm a Second Amendment issue guy. I don't care if the police jury has anything to do with the Second Amendment. That's my litmus test for everybody. I don't care if they're running for dog catcher. But when you're running for, especially in the local races, when you're running for city council, police juror, whatever it is, you need to list specific things that you're going to address when you get elected, hopefully. Um, and they need to be very specific to the average person that's, watching our show, or even if they don't, the average voter. They're not concerned a lot of times with all the minutia like you and I are, and a lot of our viewers. They're concerned with, are there potholes, and are they having to go fix the front end of their car every 6 months because the roads suck around here? And just because, some police jurors like Philip Rogers tends to complain that, oh, well, we only get so much money allocated for the roads every year, per district or whatever, and he's got a smaller district and blah, 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 blah. Here's what I want to see. You guys in those meetings standing up, using the microphone, and making those things an issue. Philip, if you don't think you're getting enough money for your district, you need to stand up in the middle of the meeting and make it a point and get the public behind you. All right, so there, I said it.
Yeah, well, we could harp on this all night long and
Yes,
go
we
on and on, and there's going to be plenty of time for us to drone on these police jury races.
Right.
Because I like it that we've had a lot of challengers get into the race and challenging these people. It enables a discussion to be had in the public. And the public, I mean, you guys have the deck stacked against you because just like you said, Rex, every politician says, "Oh, I'm for less government. I'm for, all the things that you believe." They say all of that, but then they get in there and they don't practice it. And then they say, "Well, you just don't understand because you're not in there." Well, you don't understand that you've got a lawfare twisting you saying, "Oh, you got to do this," or "Oh, you got to do that," or whatever. And just jump out there and say what all of us already know. Don't just say it. Just get up there and fight. That's
Yeah.
all. That's all people want from you in the public. You know.
Yeah. Well, look, we played the song last week and we talked about it a few minutes ago, but it could just as soon be rich men north of Benton. I guess technically they'd be in Benton, so rich men in Benton. I don't know. But
But
the point is, that song epitomizes, and that's why it's been so popular, everything that we're discussing. They're out of touch with their constituents. They'll say
yeah,
anything to get elected.
that's right. And then when they get in there and they're put in the position, what do they do? So, for example, right now, coming down the pipe, you know, I'm wondering if everybody's ready. I alluded to it to our pre-show. I'm wondering, Rex, are you ready? Is everybody ready for what's coming?
Well, we got to know what's coming to know whether I'm ready or not. So
Well, word on the street,
enlighten us.
word on the street is that, hey, we got more mask mandates coming.
What?
We've got potential lockdowns coming. So I'm just curious, everybody out there, are you going to accept all your politicians? I mean,
Well,
mandating
look.
lockdowns. Wait a minute, I'm not through. Are you going to accept, you know, that you think that wearing a mask is bullcrap and you say it publicly being censored? Are you going to be okay with that? Are you going to accept more lockdowns? And isn't it interesting that we're on the precipice of another presidential election? And
Well, that is very interesting. I mean, I would say if in late 2019 and early 2020 you had told me that, and I've said this before, anybody had told me that we were going to basically shut the vast majority of the country down for weeks on end and disrupt entire sections of businesses for months, even year and a half, and force everybody to wear a mask, I would have told you you were blankety blank crazy. So, with remembering my recent history, I'd like to tell you, Duke, you're crazy if you think that. But it just happened a couple of years ago, and so heck, I don't know. Anything's possible.
well, I want to share my screen, Rex, real quick.
Okay, let me see
And
if I can get that going.
last week, um, Mark Smith, Mark Smith said he pointed out that we're not lawyers. You know what? And I agree with Mark Smith. We're not
Yeah,
lawyers.
we're
We're not.
definitely not,
We're road
definitely not
road
lawyers.
scholars of Stupidville, maybe, but not lawyers.
Right,
So
right.
we do know lawyers, and some of those lawyers shared a few interesting points with us. And one of these, which is the one that I've shared screen with you, I don't know if you got it, but it's actually a law on the books in Louisiana, you know,
Really?
in, in the civil code, and it defines fraud.
Mm-hmm.
Fraud, misrepresentation, or from silence. So I'm wondering and I'm thinking about politicians and their silence and not using their God given common sense to stand up when, you know, they try to put us in lockdowns again. They try to do these mask mandates. They try to do all of the things that they did the last time to us, which have now been proved to be, false things, censoring and violating, our freedom of speech. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just wondering, is everybody out there, are y'all just going to lay down and you're just going to take it again? Are you just going to
Well,
take it?
here's how I handled it. The only time I wore the stupid mask was if I went into a business who was a client of mine and they required a mask. It's their business. I'm a free market capitalist guy. I could have not worn the mask and chose not to get paid, but okay, I wore the mask.
I wore a mask one time, Rex, and it
Right.
was on this show, and it was an SCBA mask that made me sound like Darth Vader, and I did it to prove the absurdity of all of this crap. And you know what?
I
I got emails saying that I was batshit crazy.
Well,
I did. I
you you
did.
might you might be batshit crazy in the end, but in all seriousness, I'm a free market capitalist. So with my clients, I could tell them no, but if they require me to wear one, okay, I'll do it. But other than that, I didn't wear a mask. Now, I did get COVID, and I have to say, I basically lost 4 days
What
of my life.
what did you get, COVID, or did you get the flu? Do you
No, it
really
was
know?
Well, I have to
Well, you know,
trust that
well
the
you do,
doctor I went to in the hospital were telling the truth, but then
well
again, we never
you
know.
you do
Who
know
knows?
flu was abolished during COVID. I mean, we
Well, I've
eradicated
had
it, right?
yeah, but I've had the flu before pretty bad, and this was way different. Like I literally don't remember 4 days of my life, and I dropped 35 pounds and no, 17. What was it? 17 pounds in 4 days.
Well, look,
I
the
may as
fact
well have been in an Indian sweat tent.
The fact of the matter is you and I again are, we are certified Rhodes Scholars of Stupidville and not lawyers, but I do think we've got a guest that can say whether or not, I'm right, you're right, we're both right, or we're both wrong.
I'm quite sure she can, and I'm quite sure she is absolutely willing to tell us. Let me see if I can get everything pulled up here and switch screens. And do we have audio? All right, hold on just a second, Jill. Let me assign you to guest 3. Hold on, let me get you back. Let me get you back. Okay, now we have audio. Talk to us, Jill.
Oh,
Yes, we have audio. It's always a good thing when the technology works. How are you?
how are you guys doing?
Oh, we're just sitting here bantering back and forth as usual.
Well, I'm just wondering, is Rex right or am I right?
Well, we've had this conversation before, Rex, because you've made the same argument that, as a business owner, people have the right to, tell you to do whatever they want to on your property. But at the same time, they're taking on some liability with this because, as I've mentioned in the past, their, mask in this capacity in the effort to inhibit a virus, right, which it's never been proven to do, in this capacity, medical device. As a business owner, you're asking patrons to undergo an experimental medical intervention to be on your property, and with that comes the risk of what happens with this medical experiment being used or required to use your property. What if the patron falls because masks inhibit some part of your vision, right? It's a trip hazard. As I explained to my mom when she was forced to wear it when she had shoulder replacement and she had an arm out like this and she had a mask like this and the doctor was forcing her to wear it into the hospital. I'm like, what if you trip and fall because the stupid mask is on your face? Sue the doctor. Sue the doctor. What if it makes you faint? As an employer, you're trying. My husband and I have had this conversation because he works in an industrial environment. At one time, their owners were forcing them to wear masks, and I'm like, what if somebody faints and falls into heavy machinery? The owner has to take responsibility. They're required. OSHA requires them to provide a safe work environment. If they're forcing their employees or forcing their patrons to undergo forced medical experimentation, they take on the liability for it.
Well,
And
but
that's
let me ask you.
not quite done.
All
That's
right.
the problem. OSHA has ignored the fact that this is a medical experiment. You can ask any industrial uh, hygienist. I think that's the technical name for an individual that oversees implementing PPE and forced air and stuff like that into any kind of business environment. They will tell you this has never been studied. This has never been approved for an employee to wear this 7 or 8 hours a day. There is a risk involved that nobody knows. So you can ask your employees, you can ask your patrons to do it when you're coming into your business or as an employee, but you're taking on a responsibility that the government is not telling you about. So that's the problem I have with it. Sure, you can do it as a business owner. I'm a free market capitalist too. I totally get that. But you have to understand. I've tried to explain this to a doctor. My husband has, a medical condition that requires him to go to see an oncologist. And the doctor and I had this conversation one day because it was at a time when we weren't, required to wear a mask, and we had the conversation came up, and I'm like, you're making your patients sicker, but you're not telling they you don't know that, first of all, and you're not explaining to them that this is another medical experiment. There's so much underlying this conversation that the government has not explained to individuals, that business owners are not and OSHA has completely, it's just like the FDA and the CDC, they have completely abandoned the purpose. They
But
abandoned
But
and
all right, hold on. So we don't completely disagree because number one, unless you're wearing an N95, we all know that the paper masks are basically ineffective. So even after I had COVID,
Whoa, hold up, time out, time out, time out.
For
we
the purpose,
lost Jill's
or,
audio. Hold on.
sorry, is that better?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Improving. I'm actually looking at the FDC code on masking right now. It is still considered a medical experimentation. You're
But
required.
I let you finish, so let me finish now. Okay? Oh, and I'm not trying to cut you off. We're having an audio issue. But let me finish. So you used an example of employees wearing masks, for instance, when they're working. And y'all let me know in the comments if my audio is okay. Jill, we may have to get you to come out and come back on because we're getting some reports that the audio is not great. But I used to work in a boat factory. All right. If the gel coaters don't wear a mask, Jill, they're going to die while they're trying to gel coat the boat. And they wear those masks for 6 to 8 hours at a time. Okay. I'll give you another easy example. Back in 1997, we had a Japanese dealer fly in to the boat plant and all that. And anyway, I was tasked with taking them back to the airport later on, and they were literally all wearing masks because it's very common in Japanese culture to do it. So the Japanese have been wearing the mask all this time. So I don't think the masks themselves are as deadly as we claim, but I agree that they are incredibly ineffective.
They're ineffective, and actually, you're the person that sells you the mask or requires you to put the mask on is supposed to inform you of the fact that it doesn't work to inhibit a virus. And this is the difference in our conversation, Rex. The mask that those individuals are using in a boat building and situation, those masks are being used for a purpose that has been approved by OSHA. These are not approved intended. The
All right.
purpose intended.
Let me interrupt you one more time only because we got audio issues. Can I get you to disconnect? And I don't know if you're on your phone or on your computer. But if you're on your phone, maybe swipe up some apps and then come right back into the call and we'll pick you right back up.
How do I get out?
Yeah, just like that. Okay, so
Hey,
we'll continue here in a minute because we're going to
well,
try to get Jill to come back in.
share my screen, and when Jill comes in, she'll see the screen. But Rex, the Journal American Medical Association recently had a study that showed that the N95 masks, you mentioned it earlier, are no more effective than the medical masks.
Well, and especially not if you're not going to have them fit tested and the whole 9 yards. I mean, either do it
correct,
right or don't.
which was the point we made during the start of COVID that, this is a joke. And
Right.
the thing I want to point out is we still have people, that are believing that the masks are going to solve everything. But
yeah, I
at the
want to
end,
make it clear, and we'll see when Jill comes back in here in a second. So let me get her back over there. I want to make it clear that I don't agree with that. All right, let's see if we can get her back in. Y'all bear with us just a second. So some slight technical difficulties. Okay, we have no video with Jill. Can you hear us, Jill? Can you hear us?
On.
Audio's good.
Is
Oh, there
this
we
better?
go. That's better and sounds better so far. Maybe we can pick up the conversation again.
Okay, good. Sorry about that.
much better. So while you were gone, Jill, I was pointing out to Rex, that the JAMA had put out, a report comparing the N95 mask to the medical mask, that there was basically no difference, and that still the dog don't hunt, right?
Exactly. That's the point that I've been trying to make, and I don't know if you guys were able to hear me when I made this point, but to your point, Rex, when you were talking about the mask used in an industrial setting, OSHA has approved those masks for that particular purpose, right? OSHA has not approved masks for this purpose, neither has the FDA, neither has any kind of industrial hygienist. They'll tell you that the mask for this purpose, to impede a virus or to inhibit a virus, it's not going to do it for any of them. For N95s, I don't know if you were talking about a rebreather when you were talking about the industrial boat building setting. But again, the mask, and this is the point that irritates me too. We're putting it on children who are physiologically so different from adults. Their heart beats faster, they breathe faster, they're more active than we are.
But
So
Jill,
all
you,
of this
Jill,
goes.
you were at the heart of the censorship lawsuit, and I mean, look, we still today in Bossier City, we have a Bossier City councilman wearing a mask at. I would like to think that he's not informed. That's what I would like to believe,
Yeah.
but I think it's more than that. I think possibly he continues to wear it. Maybe he believes in, and this is my opinion, that the mask is another form of trying to control the population, because I find it the irony that we're right here upon another presidential election, and now we're talking about, oh, we're fixing to have to wear masks again and another potential lockdown. From that perspective, you think I'm off track? I think they're setting us up to screw us all again.
I wouldn't doubt it, Duke. I would not doubt it that the powers that be have an ulterior motive for this. But it does go back, I think, to my censorship lawsuit in Missouri v. Biden, that people just don't know, especially if they've been watching a particular news channel, a particular group of politicians, healthcare individuals. I mean, there's only a small group of healthcare professionals here in Louisiana that I would trust to either take advice on a mask, take advice, health advice, period, at this point, because they're well versed in all of this and they haven't bought into it and they haven't been forcing any of these experimental medical interventions on anybody, especially their patients. I do think that the censorship issue is a tremendous part of it, because as I've stated, multiple times, it's not just an impediment of speech. This has literally killed people by not allowing them to have information that is vital to their health. And it's not just patients, it's physicians too that have been kept from getting this vital information, whether it's about masks, whether it's about COVID, the virus itself, whether it's about an effective treatment. There are so many people that don't have this information. So I try to have a little bit of grace, especially for like what's come out in the news about this one particular college that has implemented the mask mandate again in Atlanta, Morris Brown University, which is an HBCU, historically black college university. But they have really targeted the black community with this information that supposedly saves lives. Somebody termed it the weaponization of compassion, to do it for your fellow man, and to do it for yourself, for your grandparents. And, the black community is very
Well,
family centric. So
do
they're very in tune to helping their family, their elders and whatnot.
Jill, at the start or here earlier, I read, a 1953, statute that is in the books, and it basically, Article 1953, it defines fraud. Fraud is a misrepresentation or a suppression of the truth made with the intention either to obtain an unjust advantage for one party or to cause a loss or inconvenience to the other. Isn't this fraud upon everybody in the state of Louisiana and actually the whole United States? Isn't that what this is? Isn't this fraud?
Oh, there's so many layers of fraud involved in this. There's a federal law called the Color of Law, It has to do with imposing, I don't know, mandates, if you will, with a perspective of authority. For example, if a police officer says, you have to do this, it's an assumption that, and they're doing it fraudulently, then they're violating this color of law, federal lawsuit, federal statute. But I feel the same way about the governor, this Department of Health, all of these mandates, Bessie, all of these mandates that they've implemented with some kind of assumption of authority that they don't have. They're violating the Constitution. I think they've all violated this color of law. This fraud statute that you just mentioned, that's the first I've seen of it. I would love to see that instituted somehow, because I think
You know,
this
the interesting thing, the legal person that, told me, says, look, you ought to share this with all of your viewers. The person that sent it, they said, the thing, all it takes is somebody to enforce it. And
exactly.
that leads
Not
me,
not
where
even
are,
just to enforce it, but to litigate it.
where,
Somebody needs to
where
litigate that.
Well, where are our leaders? And this is election season right now in Louisiana, and that's why it's important to me. I think that people should consider, when they're voting for someone, do they think or do they believe that this person will have the courage to have, or let me say, not to have, but to use their God given common sense to stand up and say, hey, you know what? This ain't right. I may not know the legal way that's not right, but and they may be like us. Hey, I'm a Rhodes Scholar of Stupidville, but I know this ain't right, and I'm saying stop the press and do something. But so many of our politicians don't. They don't stand up and take a bold position. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong, but in the body of lawmakers that I deal with, um, more often than not, is the legislature. I don't really work with local, city councils and parish councils and whatnot. But within the legislature, the handful of legislators that are willing to act and have acted for the last 3 years, there's a group of them that I have relied on steadily for the last 3 years. They're significantly outnumbered. So I have some hope going into this year's election that we can get some of these cowards out of office. And we do. We have a majority of cowards. We have a majority of Republicans, but they are cowards, and they have been cowardly for the last 3 years. They're also, I think, ideologically aligned with a lot of the fraud, if you will, that has taken place. Like so many of them are believers in just vaccines in general, science in general, authority in general. They have a strange view of their role in the government. When you were talking about what you would ask somebody, a candidate, you were talking about your person that's running for re-election. I want people to be able to tell me what the purpose of government is. Like, why are they getting into government? For me, it's not to fix a pothole. What is the role of government? It's really it's spelled out. Article 1, Section 1 of our state's constitution tells us what the role of government is. And I don't know if I've mentioned this to you guys before, but every elected official in the state of Louisiana swears the same oath of office. Everybody from governor to, what was it you said, dog catcher. Everybody that's elected, I don't know if your dog catcher is elected or not, but anyway, they all swear the same oath of office, and that is to uphold and protect the federal constitution, our U.S. Constitution, and our state's constitution, and all laws thereof. The very first, underlying ethic of our state's constitution, Article 1, Section 1 of the state's constitution says the purpose and origin of government is to protect. You got it?
Hang on
Protect the
just a second.
rights
There you
of the
go.
individual.
Scroll up, Rex, if we can.
Well, it's your screen, so see if you can scroll up. I was trying to hurry.
No,
Oh,
you got it. So many of
sorry.
our legislators don't know this. They don't know what their purpose is in government. They think it's to fix a pothole, and it's not. They're there to protect our rights, whatever role they have taken, whether it's parish council or governor of the state of Louisiana. And we have seen over the last 3 years that every role in government has played a hand in
Well,
either
let,
prolonging COVID tyranny or doing something to inhibit it.
let me throw this out there, and I'm going to play devil's advocate again for a minute. And
Yeah.
let me be clear, I am absolutely not for mass mandates. Now,
Right.
if a private individual wants to do it, fine, but I'm not for the government doing it. All right, but as you well know, that state constitution as well as the federal constitution is open to interpretation. And
No, it's not.
so, oh, yes, it is. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the court and the judicial system. We wouldn't need them. Because, and let me present this to you, and then I'll let you counter it. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm trying to
Okay.
feed you softballs here.
Okay.
All right.
You're in luck. I'm gonna hit it.
All right. So knock this out of the park. But
Okay.
it does guarantee a right to dignity, but who determines what the dignity and equal protection is of that? Because an argument could be made
Yep.
by somebody that I would consider not completely informed. They can say, wait a minute, my right to dignity and to good health means that you
Nope.
should have a mask on.
Nope. It doesn't say good health. It says physical condition. So here's the deal. We actually, one of the legislators introduced legislation last year because I'm very familiar with Article 1, Section 3 as well, the right of the individual. Because there's three places, if I'm not mistaken, in the state's constitution where it kind of goes back to a personal protection in regards to masking. And Article 1 Section 1 and Article 1 Section 3 are two of those where it talks about the rights of the individual for the betterment of the whole. And that's Article 1 Section 1. And then Article 1 Section 3 talks about right to individual dignity, and it protects individuals in certain areas, most that we're familiar with, religion, let's see, race, sex, age, but then it it throws us some interesting words like culture, and then physical condition or political ideas or affiliations. So there's some beautiful protections in our state's constitution. And one of the things that we supported last year in 2022 was when Representative Kathy Edmonston introduced, how do we call it? Kind of like an anti-discrimination amendment to the state's constitution. And that would actually identify physical condition to include your immune status or your vaccination status, because we've seen, and it started very early in 2020, we heard rumblings from one Senator Bill Cassidy when he talked about immunity passports. Well, when you start hindering someone's movement within the United States or even within the state of Louisiana, depending on their immune status, that provides broad opportunities, a broad variety of opportunities for discrimination. And we saw it in housing. People weren't renting to people. They weren't showing real estate to people unless they were masked. There's just so many opportunities for discrimination when we start discriminating against an individual based on their immune status. And let me just say that vaccination does not, and we have seen this especially with COVID, does not necessarily equate to immunity. So how are
So,
you going to prove, even if you've had a vaccine, that you're immune?
so we have our friendly alias poster, Mark Smith, who says, I thought this was a state issue mask mandate. Yeah, Mark. But here's the thing, Mark, and you asked
Federal.
earlier, it said, why are we even talking about this? Well, Mark, I would contend that at what point do we, you know, stop allowing people to use fraud to manipulate elections, to manipulate speech, or to control population and to control? I mean, last I checked, if the state constitution, which I think kind of sort of mirrors, you know, the United States Constitution, and I'm glad Jill went through them, but she didn't get to the, you know, item number 7, freedom of expression, you know, section 7, no law shall curtail or restrain the freedom of speech. But yet
Yes.
we did
Yeah.
exactly that. Government did that to us. And there's a
Yep.
lot of you folks out there that are government people, and you allowed it to happen. And by
Yep.
default, you allowing it to happen, in my opinion, you committed fraud against
Yep.
everybody in the state of Louisiana and the country because you didn't do nothing. You sat there silent on your hands and didn't freaking do what you said you were going to do when you got elected, which was represent the
Exactly.
people.
And it's not just that. You have Article 1, Section 8, freedom of religion. And this was my excuse, other than just common sense, was that I am not, first of all, I'm not going to instill fear in my neighbor, myself or my neighbor, my family, because God tells us do not fear on, multiple occasions, right? But also we're not to bear false witness. I know that these things are useless. I almost cussed. They're useless. So I am not going to bear false witness. And do you know, we had a meeting in 22, and the freedom of assembly, good one, Barry Butler. But we had a meeting back in May of 22, with Representative Edmonston and some people from the Louisiana Department of Health, because they put in a letter opposing that constitutional amendment that I mentioned to you earlier, where we were going to add the language immunity or vaccination status to physical condition in Article 1, Section 3. And they were opposed to it. So we had a little meeting with them, and just to kind of discuss, their opposition to it and why we didn't care, basically. But I told the woman, and her name, she's no longer with LDH, but she was an assistant. She was the assistant Office of Public Health Officer, or something like State Health Officer. Her name was Kim Hood. And I told her, I said, I've had a religious objection to this from day one, that I wasn't going to bear false witness in regards to masking, because I know they're useless. And she scoffed. She goes, "Ugh," like that. So that's the attitude that these individuals that work for the state, the individuals that cannot violate your constitutionally protected rights, and a state employee scoffed at religious expression. So I have like zero respect for certain individuals within well, pretty much everybody at Louisiana Department of Health. I know they're not all bad, but but there's a certain group of them. They have no respect for any religion other than their own. And here's where I kind of get controversial. But even an atheist, I believe that they have a religion, and that's the religion of self. That they have taken on themselves as God, and their own beliefs are greater than whatever. But they're their own deity. So
But
she has.
some of our viewers, like Mark Smith, would be fine with the atheists even coming to Bossier City and having Bossier City violate the seventh tenet, the freedom of speech. I mean, they would be fine with them violating that. I don't think he's expressed any opposition to Bossier City trying to violate the freedom of speech of citizens of Bossier. Right, Mark? That's all good, huh?
Well, let me just point out that in mysterious Mark Smith, and I hate to harp so much on this, but anyway, so maybe we need a petition to change the charter to block mask mandates in Bossier City. Just make sure you have birth dates on petitions. We'll see about
Well,
that.
see, here's the interesting thing about mask mandates. They have, somebody mentioned that it was federal. Maybe it was Mark that said it was federal, or maybe it was state. It's both. It came from both at one point. Do you remember Biden administration put in a mask mandate the only place that they had any jurisdiction was on federal property, including airplanes, transportation that goes across state lines, trains, whatnot, in federal buildings. But we also had one here in the state of Louisiana with the governor and whatnot. But all of those mandates violated federal law. There's a statute, 21 U.S. Code 360 BBB, that states that medical intervention under emergency use, an individual has a right to refuse. And they have violated that from day one. We've been trying to get the word out about that for so long. We sent out our mask, our Smile project that we had back in early 22. We sent the letters to all the school boards, all the school board superintendents, to let them know that they were violating federal law by doing that. But,
So as we wrap this up,
yeah,
if they come at us again with
just don't.
lockdowns and mask mandates, what are we going to do?
You are not going to comply. Now, I know you guys didn't do it, Rex.
I'm definitely not.
Rex, I want you to stand a little bit firmer and just say no to all those.
I'm not going to say no to business. I am a capitalistic pig. And let me be clear again. If a client of mine says, I am not going to let you come in here and transact business, if you want to get paid, put on a mask, guess what I'm doing? My boat drinks gas. I have to be able to afford the gas.
Yeah.
So the government saying it.
You need to get you one of them solar power boats. I mean,
electric boats. That's I like horsepower and gas burn. The smell
or get you
of
one of them big
burning.
fans on the back, big windmill on the back. That's what you need.
Yeah. So let me be clear. Those are the only instances where I carried a mask in World War I. And I had the choice. I could have not done business with my client anymore, not gotten paid.
That's the better plan, and my option is to find and this I have
Not
a lot
me.
of
Some of my well-paying clients required that.
right.
I'm just going to leave it at that.
I was going to say I have a little bit more discretion being able to say no because first of all, I don't have a job that pays. Everything we do at Health Freedom Louisiana, we do voluntarily. So all of my activities with Health Freedom Louisiana, I am unpaid by that. I actually am in the job market though, since my daughter.
We'll keep that in mind.
Since my daughter has graduated, I no longer have a job as a homeschool mom. So, but yeah, if it comes back into play, which we're seeing it overseas. The UK is really signaling it more. There was an article today in MedPage Today, which speaks to healthcare workers, healthcare systems. That's where I have a concern that it's going to be implemented again, because once again, they're violating individuals' rights. Because I don't know if you guys are familiar, but in state law, a healthcare provider that has any kind of association with Medicaid or Medicare has to abide by those civil right protections found in, for example, the 1964 Civil Rights Law that says that an individual cannot be discriminated against based on their age, sex, race, or religion. So anytime a physician or a hospital system denies you care because you're not wearing a mask, and if you're like me, you have strongly held religious beliefs that inhibits you from wearing a mask. I don't want to bear false witness. I'm not going to instill fear in anyone, and they deny me service, then they are violating my civil rights. And under state law, they can lose any kind of Medicaid and Medicare funding if they violate civilly protected, constitutionally protected civil rights.
Well, they also, as a capitalist, will lose my business.
Oh, honey, me too. Look,
vote with your wallet.
I just got back a couple of weeks ago. I went to Georgia to see my doctor back in Georgia because my doctor here in Louisiana started going, requiring masks, and works for a healthcare system that mandated vaccines on their employees. So I refused to see her anymore. And I like my doctor back in Georgia, so I drove 8 hours to see my doctor and, I get my stitches out of my arm from my little accident that I had a couple weeks ago.
There
Well,
you go.
saw that and hope you're recovering well.
Yeah, I'm getting along good. Hey, before I get off though, can I tell you about some of our activities that we're doing with Health Freedom?
Yep.
So we just put out a little article about our what we're calling Health Freedom Louisiana champions. Those champion legislators that have been individuals that we've relied on over the last 3 years, four legislative sessions, if you will, to carry good legislation that we could always count on for. Their courage in the legislature. For example, one of our champions who has not carried legislation for us, but we really like, is State Representative Alan Seabaugh, who initiated the Seabaugh petition back in 2020. So we consider him a champion. Of course, he did some great things with the gender bill this past legislative session that was gave us a chuckle. I don't know if you recall when he added the amendment to Fred Mills's legislation that would only allow it to be passed if HB 648 was passed. So we have a Substack with our list of Health Freedom champions in there. We've also put out an article just recently on a gubernatorial candidate, Stephen Wagesback. I don't even know how you say his name, but we put out an
Jindal
article.
2.0 is how I know him.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so we put out an article about how much we dislike him and how he is not a health freedom advocate. And I think in part, he is part of the reason that a lot of businesses were forced to mandate vaccines in their businesses when they started mandating in 21, because his organization, Lobby, opposed legislation that Representative Danny McCormick carried back in October of 2020 that would have prohibited a COVID vaccine mandate, and it got 2 votes in House Health and Welfare back in October of 2020 because Lobby, their associate Lauren Gleason, submitted a red card in committee that evening. And we have a whole list of bills that they opposed in 2022. Our favorite bill being one that would prohibit the requirement of a liability-free medical intervention. We all know that all vaccines are liability free, not just the COVID. We know masks are liability free because they're under EUA still. They're covered by PrEP. You cannot sue if you fall into a large manufacturing equipment. If you faint or whatever, you cannot sue the manufacturer.
Well, hopefully, after this election, Lobby will learn their lesson and they'll go back to trying to represent business in Louisiana and not destroy business in Louisiana, and especially small business in Louisiana, because they are not representative of small business in Louisiana. And Lobby, as far as I'm concerned, screw you.
Same. So we're not a huge fan of lobbying. So if your viewers would take a look at our Substack, it's called Braving Freedom on Substack or Health Freedom Louisiana. You can find it either way. And we're putting out a couple of more articles, like why no legislator that's running for statewide office. For example, let's see, John Stefanski, that's running for Attorney General. He does not deserve that position. Sharon Hewitt, no. Who else is running for? Scott McKnight, nope. Billy Nungesser, he's not a legislator, but he does not deserve to be lieutenant governor. So we're fixing to put out an article about that, our thoughts on that as well.
Well, we look forward to reading it.
Yeah, and I'll put the link up there in the comments too as well, so everybody can see that. It's healthfreedomla.substack.com. Go check it out.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, Jill. We appreciate it.
Sure, thank you.
All right, see you later.
Bye.
So, look, I'm just going to say it. The only reason we had the mask mandates and the lockdowns and all that was, so that we could force voting schemes across the country that, enabled non Make America Great candidates. I'm not saying Republican and Democrats, but I'm going to say anti American candidates to get elected. That was the whole why. That was it.
Yeah, yeah. I can't deny
And,
that that's a strong possibility.
and to make the rich men north of Richmond richer.
There you go.
That was it. That was the why.
All right,
So,
and look, I want to point this out real quick. The reason that we're talking about this in all seriousness is, like I said earlier, if you had told me in the fall of 2019 that all that could happen, I'd have told you were crazy, and yet it did. And here we go with rumblings of this again, and we need to stay aware of what's going on.
it goes to the fact we let it happen before. We
Right.
didn't all use our common sense and put our foot down and say, no, this is BS. And so why would the people who perpetrated it before not do it again? In fact,
Sure.
they should do it every freaking time until somebody says, you know what? No, we're not going to do it.
Yeah, the thing with
And
me,
who is that?
well, the thing with me is, and we'll move on, but the thing with me is, I'm not so much about the health side of it like Jill is, because like I said, I had a chimney cleaning business at one time and had to wear a respirator for long periods of time. When we go riding four-wheelers, which we don't do anymore, but especially up in Arkansas and Mena, you have to wear a dust mask to keep the dust out of your nose or, and all that. We wear those for 4, 5, 6 hours at a time. I'm not as concerned about the health side of the mask as I am the forced mandate and forcing us to do something that doesn't work. That's my take on it.
Exactly. And my deal is, where's the politicians is going to take, they're going to step up to the plate and say, wait, this is bull crap. We're not doing this. I refuse to allow the public, to be forced to do this stupid crap again.
All right. So let's switch gears. Let's get to the Cypress District Dam, because I said we were going to cover it last week, and
all right,
obviously we did.
Moving along, we're going to go to that. But hey, real quick, we said it earlier. Let's say it frequently through the show. September the 12th, we have confirmed September the 12th. Everybody watching, I think we're hitting on about 80 live viewers. Thank you all for being here. But on September the 12th, our show is going to consist of a live debate for one of your Senate districts. And it will be none other than Senator Robert Mills and school board member Adam Bass, who's seeking to replace Robert Mills. They've both agreed to debate, and we're going to host it. And, Tuesday, September the 12th, y'all put it on your calendar. That's going to be off the chain.
That should be a lot of fun and should be very interesting. Because look, I know Adam. He's a very sharp guy, smart politician, so I'm sure he's going to bring a lot to the table. Robert Mills has got experience down there in the Senate and has turned out, every interview we've had has answered the questions as best he could. Never, told us something's off limits or anything like that. He answers them straight up, so should be very interesting.
So what about this Dam Cypress District? Am I saying that right?
the Dam.
No,
all right.
You were literally meaning the dam. You weren't saying that the Dam Cypress District. You were meaning the dam at the Cypress. Okay. See.
Yeah, spelled D-A-M, not D-A-M.
Yeah. Okay. See, that's the Halton coming out in me. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. All right. So here's the deal is there's been some concern with this OEM account, the operations and maintenance account with the Cypress District. And we've talked about this a couple of times in the past.
But they've got Jeff Free, president of the city. I mean, Jeff Free's his wife running things now, right?
Yeah, Lisa, I believe is her name. And I've requested her salary too, by the way, just for the heck of it.
That job, did they advertise for that job?
Nope. Not that I know of. I mean, maybe so, but not that I know of.
Did anybody get an opportunity to put in? Jill was looking for a job. Did she get an opportunity to put in an application for that? I don't
Well, I don't
think
know.
she did.
I,
I
I,
don't think she did.
I
Huh.
want to see how it pays. So, anyway, I've got up on the screen. We've already posted this on Facebook, on the Facebook page, but and I know it's kind of small for those of you that are watching on mobile, but that's not the important part. You go check the post out later, which you can pull it up larger. But anyway, this is the operations and maintenance account from 2021, January the 2nd of 2021, with a balance of $109.65 at that time. $109.65. I mean,
Well,
that
well,
might
wait a
pay to
minute.
pull up a couple of sweet gum saplings.
Well, we got to confirm are they sweet gums or are they oaks? Because if they're oaks, I mean, I don't know. Maybe we need to let them things grow.
Yeah, well, now it did increase, so you can see, and again, I know it's small, but you can see some deposits going in, some debits going out, and it's going up and down. It's going up to 17,000 by July the 4th of 2021. And so it's climbing on up, but it climbed all the way up to, let's see, about $25,000. And then they had a $73,000 debit. So we
So,
were at a negative $47,000 balance according to their ledger.
so I think if I'm understanding what you're trying to tell me correctly is that if the Cypress Dam fails, they don't have money to fix it. And so if you live next to Rex and you're down there in Carriage Oaks and all that, you're going to be
Oh, we're going to have a
worried
little bit of
about
water.
you're worried about your house flooding in Carriage Oaks and all down in that area down there. Maybe even Stonehenge. Y'all might get you a little water.
they, they very
I
well
mean,
might. All right, so I'm gonna skip ahead to 20.
Tiburon, y'all might be fishing in the streets in the main drag. I hope y'all got a boat. I
Yeah,
mean, that
no
might be a little
kidding.
country for y'all, but
All right.
hey, you got Juliana Parks down there. She reelect. I mean, she's handling
Oh,
up.
yeah.
She's
She's handling up, and they're really paying close attention to this. I mean, but in all honesty, the police jury, this is not exactly their purview. This is the Cypress District. What?
well, she was made aware, her and Phillips, long time ago about the lack of money to protect the
Oh yeah.
dam if it was to fail. And what did they do? Finally, when it came on Phillips' doorstep, he decided to do something, but
Right.
not before then. And Juliana, well, she wanted to stay the course. She didn't want to change horses.
All right. So the current balance is $13,676.50. I think that's 54 cents. Anyway, and some change. So it's got about $13,000 in it as of a few days ago, and when we got this information. And now our good friend Wes Marriott says, was the mandate to maintain that account with a minimum balance memorialized in any rule or ordinance? I don't believe, and I should know this, I don't believe it was, Wes. But I need to go back and double check on that because there was discussion of this account over a decade ago when if I remember correctly, they had more money in it at that time, but in the immortal words of Travis Morehart, the CPA who serves as the auditor for most of the local business entities, they were robbing Peter to pay Paul. And so they
And
were pulling.
Paul's broke. Yeah, I'd be favor of a increase in the gas tax.
Yeah. So,
Sounds familiar. Who said that? I wonder.
yeah, and be our good friend, taxman Doug Rimmer. But so, Wes, I can't answer that question completely yet, but what I can tell you is that they've been aware of this and they've been having to pull money, even though they borrowed $3 million. So they had a $3 million cash injection back in 2015 or 2016. They still had to move money from this O&M account, which is supposed to be a reserve fund, so to speak, in case the dam has a failure, there's some major issues. So to put it simply, there ain't much money in it. Now, let's hear a quick video. This is about 2 minutes of video between Renee Hall and none other than Robert Berry himself.
My name is Renee Hall, and I live on Merritt Road here in Dunno. And I wanted to, there was a man named Ed Cooper, very wonderful man that was here when the lake started. He reminded us that there was a mandate with the establishment of this lake that there should be a maintenance, separate maintenance account. And this was part of the charter, that there would remain $250,000 in there as an emergency fund. And so my comment is that maintenance fund still there? And when we paid our $40,000 for our lawsuit, we requested that that be put in the maintenance fund so it didn't go to waste. And I just noticed over on the spillway that there are small trees coming out of the spillway, which gives me great concern that should something happen, who's going to pay for the repair?
We got the letter a month or so ago, but the spillway inspections and levee inspections are coming up. Ben, I've already given, I think, the information to him, so he'll have to be involved in that and walk in the levees and spillways with them. So, you know, there is a lot of work, as Ms. Hall stated earlier, you know, and she is correct. And yes, there is an O&M account, and there is money in it. Is it enough money? No, it's not enough money, but who knows what it would cost if something happened to one of the levees or spillway.
Oh, wait a minute. Stop the presses here. Are you telling me that Robert Berry just said that, you know what, basically everything Renee Hall just said is the God's honest truth?
I know, stop the presses. I'm about to fall out of my chair, and I'm the one that created that little video. But yeah, that's exactly what he said.
So, well, I'm guessing if you are living in Tiburon or Stonehenge or, you know, Carriage Oaks next to your house, that little video with that levee failing is not a comforting video. And you just had Robert Berry, the former park director, saying, yeah, you know what? She's right.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I like to fell out. I mean, well, I was standing up during that whole 2-hour meeting, but I like to fell over when he said that because I wanted to clap and cheer him on. It was unbelievable when he said that, but he did. In a rare moment of honesty, and he's right. Look, $13,000 is not enough to fix a dam failure if that were to happen. And don't think it can't. That Lake Dunlap Dam over there in Texas that I showed the picture of, that's the video, surveillance video of it failing. It was at its lifespan of about 50 years. And as far as we can tell, that's about the expected lifespan of the Cypress Dam. And I guess the Black Bayou Dam as well. So, you know, there needs to be some maintenance, some inspections and all that. And your best friend, Ben Ruttenbuck, was right there on top of that, amazingly.
Well, the way it sounded, the way Robert Berry said that is Ruttenbuck and them, Manshack, you know, I mean, look, in Manshack We Trust has done, been entrusted. I'm betting we're fixing to have to put a new dam in on Cypress or Black Bayou, one of the two.
Yeah, well, we got a couple of comments here. So David Bond says, can you get him on Bossier Watch to debate Rogers versus Monica? We're working on that. And Mark Smith, please get Rogers on. Ask him if he's received his suit papers on his pier. Good question, Mark Smith.
Mark, maybe you can get him on. I don't know. I'm thinking he probably would more likely talk to you than he would us.
Right. All right. I want to play one more video. This is the infamous or infamous, as the Three Amigos put it, Travis Morehart, who never fails to give us some great quotes. But of course, I want y'all to notice he is addressing the Cypress board only. They won't even let him turn around and address the public. And when he's done, he's got to leave, so we can't ask him questions. But I'm going to go ahead and roll this video too, so let's listen to this. It's a couple of minutes.
Okay, you should have 3 items there in front of you. You should have bound up article board. You should have, and then 2 letters. If you will go to the very last page of the bound article board, that is the page, it's actually page 31. It will state that there are no findings or question costs for your 22 audit. Okay? If you look on page 25,
He'll
This
get
is
to the good
your,
stuff here in about 30
budget
seconds.
schedule that's in the audit on page 25. And it's on what we call the cash basis. It records what you brought in and what you spent. And you see for the year, you had excess revenue over your expenses of just over $8,100. So it's pretty tight, as you well know. You're getting numbers periodically. And you ended the year with a cash fund balance right at $75,000. The good news versus last year is your ad valorem taxes have crept up some, about $50,000, $60,000. Your expenses remain almost identical to the prior year.
Now listen.
If you look on page 14, this is for your income statement where we record your receivables and your payables. The budget schedule's on cash basis. This is on the accrual basis.
Mr. President, could I ask a question?
Listen to this.
Could he stand over there so he can face us and y'all at the same time?
He's addressing us.
Oh, well, I don't want to listen to that. Okay.
Oh, this ain't a public meeting.
This ain't a public meeting, except it's a public meeting. Now, literally, they make everybody else stand over here. Let me put the little pointer. It's kind of actually behind your picture, dude, but stand over here where the podium is. But they make Travis stand up there, and I had to boost the heck out of this audio and try to get it, where y'all could hear it, because asshat Gary Weish doesn't want the CPA to address the public.
Gary White, I hope he doesn't go away. I mean, look, we're gonna have to campaign for Gary White to remain on there. I mean, he's the gift that keeps on giving.
All right. So let's continue on. It's a couple of minutes, but it's kind of important to hear all this.
All right. So on page 14, it shows that you had you recorded all your receivables and payables. Your excess for the year was $28,918. All right. Look on page 21. I want to point this out, and I know you're aware of it. So I just want to point this out on page 21. Your ad valorem tax, which funds, the vast majority of your operations around here. Your last assessment.
All right, here we go. Listen up.
2024, which means you'll assess it in 24, June, whenever the assessor sends their information. You'll collect it in 25. You'll spend it in 25.
Okay.
But you need to act on that soon. It's not something you can just snap your fingers and do. You got to give it to the assessor. You got to give, your legal and get all the paperwork done. So that's got to be re-voted on by the public.
Well, he's telling them it's coming up for renewal.
For a year, which will be like next summer.
TikTok.
You'll get the money towards the end of 24 or early 25 and spend it in 25. So, but you kind of need to get on that. The importance of that is when you look at your debt that you pay on page 23.
Listen to this.
That runs you about $350,000 a year in debt service. It runs through 27. So your millage and your debt payments don't exactly match up. They weren't meant to. But I'm just saying that getting that millage in front of the voters is critical. Because your debt's going to run all the way through 27.
And Gary Weish doesn't want to let him address the board and the public that was there, but he's going to want us to renew that millage or they're underwater.
Yeah, Gary, by all means, you don't need the public at a public meeting to talk about taxes that you want them to vote for. I understand that. That makes total sense that you don't want the public to have any idea or understand or have a say in a millage that they have to vote for to renew to keep what you've ran in the ground afloat. Okay, I got it. Makes perfect sense to me.
to get this to be clear, the debt service that he was talking about of about $350,000 is paying back the $3 million bond loan that they received in it's either 2015 or 2016. So they're still paying on that. And what he's explaining is if that millage doesn't pass, the bond payment is going to keep on coming. And they're going to have a couple of years after the millage, if it doesn't pass, to keep paying that loan of $300,000. Where are they going to get that from if the millage doesn't renew?
Well, they don't care. That I mean, I think they canceled out a couple of votes right there that they needed. This ain't a public meeting. This is for us. It ain't for you. And look, Alex Vozella, she's like, hey, it's cool with me. I mean, I'm gonna send you a bill regardless. I mean, I'll have me a lakefront.
She's getting paid no matter what.
I've been eyeballing that new $1 million building out there for my new house. I'll reconfigure it and have me some lakefront out here. So I'm good either way. I'll send you a bill. Don't matter to me.
So there's about another minute of Travis, but just to point out, that's asshat Gary Weiss, who's appointed by the town of Benton. That is Kelly Long, who replaced. Who did she replace? I'm drawing a blank.
Mel Allen. Mel Allen.
Yeah, sorry about that. Mel Allen.
When he owned his own, allegedly, or I think he said it in a meeting. He owned his own, recruited or paid for when he was the chairman or whatever their head position is.
The lobbyist.
To lobby against Dodie Horton's bill to hold all these cats accountable, and they fought it.
Yeah. All right. So the one over there on the right that I've got the finger pointing to now, that's newly appointed district board member from the police jury, Rodney Madden. Rodney's a good guy. And that's Alex Vozella. She's the highly paid attorney from the Ayers law firm.
Hey, you know what she's thinking right there? You really want to?
Cha-ching, cha-ching.
No, seriously. You know what she's sitting there thinking? She's thinking.
No telling.
I can tell you. I know what she's thinking.
What's she thinking?
She's thinking, should I hire Philip Rogers to build my house out there?
Yeah, no kidding.
What about Jeff Smith sitting right there? Maybe I'll get him to build my boathouse.
Yeah.
There
were lots of good quotes and lots of good speeches by folks. So I've got the whole video posted.
I think I can work a deal with Jeff there and get my pier, and I'll get it about 100 foot longer.
Yeah, you use the new Phillip rule. You just build as long as you want.
I mean, I'm thinking she's feeling very confident.
Maybe so. All right, let's finish this up. It's about a minute.
But the real question is she going to build right across the lake from the halls? I bet she does.
The Halls put up, I don't know if Renee's still watching or if she's watching or not, but the Halls put up a Dodie Horton sign, and the Cypress District took a picture of it, posted it on their Facebook page, and made an issue out of the Dodie Horton sign.
Well, I have noticed that there are some Dodie Horton signs on Black Bayou as well too, along with some Jeff Landry signs. I mean, and I'm sure the Cypress District probably has no love lost for Jeff Landry, since how the AG's office put their foot down on y'all and y'all fought them all the way. But
all right, here we go.
Anyway.
So I think what I tell you is pretty much most of the years is pretty tight. Depends on how bad the repairs and stuff are, and how much legal you have, and all your lawsuits.
No, notice he mentions legal and lawsuits and their expenses right off the bat.
Hey, David Crockett makes an amazing point right here. So for all of you that live in Stonehenge, Carriage Oaks, Tiburon, that could potentially be flooded, we would say if you had one of the dams break because of a lack of money being appropriated to the account to help repair and all that stuff, but rather diverted so that Alex Vozella could possibly get her a house across the lake from the Hall's place. David Crockett points out that the Louisiana Bond Commission, has to review, any tax millage things. I can attest that's accurate. But, he said in there, treat people badly. I think a case could be made that the Cypress District ignores the public because Gary White's just attested this is not a public
Well,
meeting.
he also in the
So-
same meeting shut Renee Hall down after about a minute and a half, and everybody started. I mean, like we almost grabbed our pitchforks and torches, and he's like, "Oh, okay, well, I'll let her talk the rest of the time." I mean, he just gives great sound bites. He's such an
I'm
ass.
wondering what Gary White and Kelly Long, Kelly, hey, you're on the radar now. I'm wondering, hey, and I saw those pics with you at Lynn Lawrence's birthday party, I think. Good job. Hey, I'm wondering what they're going to do if a lot of people at the Cypress District all show up at the bond commission meeting and make some expressions like that. Seems like people are showing up at lots of meetings these days, and things are getting uncomfortable for folks. Boy, wouldn't that be a ruse?
Wouldn't that be interesting? Okay, a little bit left. Let's finish up.
Things like that, but overall, you're still, you ended the year with $75,000 in the bank. You've got another letter there that says agreed upon procedures. There's nothing of any significance in that letter. There are some minor exceptions, but there's no findings. They don't equate the findings, so you can just read that at your leisure. The legislative auditor requires these additional procedures in addition to your regular audit.
Okay.
So that's, and they just, we have to do those.
Okay.
It's kind of a one size fits all. Everybody does, the city of Bossier does that.
All right, so that's enough. He talks a little bit more and goes and sits down.
Yeah,
And
no,
then-
David Crockett, that's not accurate. I didn't say that, or I'm not saying that at all. I just noticed that there was a Facebook post that showed that Kelly Long was out at a birthday party with Lynn Lawrence, and
Hey, I wonder if they
But-
went driving the back roads to see who could jump Dukes of Hazzard style highest off of a bridge with a vehicle owned by the taxpayers.
you talk.
Mark
Oh,
Smith,
you're
do you know
talking.
anything about that?
You're talking about in a district attorney vehicle.
Yes, I
mean,
am.
but it would have if that in theory happened, it would have been a Cypress District vehicle this time, surely.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. All right. West Marriott. Well, first of all, David. No, hold on. Mr. Thornhill says, "Can we get copies of canceled checks through a FOIA request? Technically, it's public information. FOIA is federal, but yes, you can. Now they may charge you for it." And Wes Marriott says anyone can request records related to any line item in that transaction list. Give their staff something to do. I will just caution you that remember, when we send in a public information request, it goes to this highly paid lawyer, and they get paid to fulfill those requests every time.
But they only get paid in between time that they're staking their claim on a lot across from the halls on Cypress Black Bayou. I mean,
that's true.
it's the only time. Hey, I was wondering, does Kelly Long still have or splitting a suite at Louisiana Downs with one of the judges up in Benton? She still do that?
No, I hadn't heard that she's not doing it, so we would have to guess that maybe she is.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway,
All
just
right.
some of the things that make you wonder. You just never know.
So that's the deal. We get to see Robert Barry and hear him say actually that Renee Hall was correct. He does support term limits. Now, I understand that you had a phone call. Do you want to brief us on any portion of that, or?
Well, Duke is going fishing. Hey, I've been told that one time. That's another story entirely. Anyway, he ended up being forced out. He said I was going fishing too. But anyway, either way, yeah, I did. I got an amazing call. It actually originated in a text.
Mm-hmm.
The text said, hey, wait a minute. I'm just thinking, is Mark Smith, is he threatening me?
Wait. By asking you if you're going fishing?
Yeah, is he threatening me?
Well, only if it involves concrete shoes and some rope.
Is that a veiled threat?
All right, back to the phone call.
But I got a text out of the blue. So I get this text, right? A lot of people
Mhm.
know that I'm kind of, Mark Smith knows I'm one of the guys. I mean, there was a lot of people had their hands in it, but I did make the motion at the PEC meeting that kind of got this term limits thing going, right?
Mhm.
So I got an interesting text. And during the course of all of that, we ended up, we had a big sign made and we had some things done. I got a text from the printer that did our big sign. And he says, hey, he said, is it okay if we use the term limits logo? And I said, well, I said, I don't think it's patented or anything. I was like, I'm curious, are you doing this for a political candidate? And he said, yeah. And I said, well, I said, I guess I appreciate you asking. I said, I guess I would need to know, did the candidate support or sign our petition? He said, I have no idea. He said, I'll find out and get back to you. A short while later, messages back and says the political candidate had not signed the petition. And I said,
And
well,
there are several of those.
that's right. There's a lot of those.
Yeah.
And I said, well, in that case, I said, I would say no. He doesn't have permission. And, he probably is going to need to call us with the Term Limits Coalition to talk about it. I didn't expect anything would happen from there. Well, lo and behold, about 15, 20 minutes later, I get a phone call. Now,
Drum roll. I still don't have a drum roll sound effect yet, but drum
so
roll, please.
now we got to drag this out. Everybody watching the show, of everybody running for political office that hasn't signed the term limits petition, or you wouldn't know, but who would you guess would call? What is
Yeah.
your guess?
Yeah, I've got it ready to put up on the screen, but I'm not going to show it yet. So we want to see some comments. Who do you think it was, the mystery candidate that signed the term limits petition and wanted to be able to use the term limits logo? Who was it?
No, Mark, you haven't signed the petition. We haven't seen your name on there.
Yep. Michael Ferris says David Montgomery. No, that wasn't it.
You're out, Michael Ferris. You failed that one.
Yeah. Come on, y'all vote. We got to see some commentary. Ha! Ann Price says Robert Berry. Andy Monica says Robert Berry. Val Baker says Queen, as in Queen David. Nope, Val. All right, Robert Berry is now officially in the lead. Chris Davis says Vince. No. Thomas Shea says Robert Berry. Robert Berry's still in the lead. Wes Marriott says Robert Mills. Well, he signed it initially, Wes. So he literally signed it on video. So
I think Robert was the third or fourth person to sign it. He was only behind. Well, let's see. Chris Smith was first. Tommy Chandler was second. Brian Hammonds was third, and Robert Mills was fourth. They was in that order.
Larry James Hawkins says Chris Marsiglia. No, he didn't do it. David Johnson says Robert. All right, drum roll, please, and we'll do the, what is this, like a gender reveal party or something? I should have like a pink or blue splash.
Yeah, so it was Robert Berry.
Robert Berry. Now, are you going to review any of the other, did he actually call you?
He actually called me and we had a conversation. I about wrecked. I was going down the road. My phone rings. I didn't know who it was. I answered and I about ran off of the interstate into the ditch. Look, he was, I mean, there's a million questions that people are going to have here. I mean, look, I was as shocked that he called me. I figured he'd just as soon take a voodoo doll and stab me to death, but that wasn't how it was at all. And I got to tell you, he was professional. And he said, hey, this is what he said. I'll tell you. He says, Duke, he said, look, he said, I'm fine without using y'all's logo or not. He said, the truth is I support term limits. He said, and if y'all don't want me to do it, that's fine. He said, that I'm good either way. And I said to him, I said, if you support it, why hadn't you signed the petition? He said, I just hadn't stopped to make time to do it. And I said, well Go ahead.
What's that saying? Politics makes strange bedfellows.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I said, if you sign the petition and you see the petition sign right there, I said at that point, I said, I think that we would be okay with you using the logo. And so he immediately went and signed the petition, and we confirmed that he did. And shortly thereafter, his person that was doing his media called back and said, "Hey, said has is Robert Berry signed the petition and is he good to go?" And I said, "Yeah, he signed the petition. He says he supports term limits, and y'all see it right there."
Yeah. Now let's be clear. This particular term limits petition doesn't have any legal binding. It's not legally binding or anything like that at all. It's to show support for term limits for the police jury. And once we turn our attention to the police jury, everybody that signs it online at bossiertermlimits.com and bossiertermlimits.org, it will help us in that battle. And I almost fell out when you told me Robert Berry called you.
Hey, squirrel, real quick. Val Baker and Greg Bell. Who says the year of birth's not on there?
Right.
Who? Wait a minute. Am I missing something? Is the year of birth not on there? Last I thought, the year of birth was on there. Mark Smith probably. I think, in fact, he has made some comments to that effect. But yeah, Robert Berry called and said, "Hey, I'm all in on term limits. I want it. Let's do it." And he signed the dotted line. So
he's just the gift that keeps on giving.
No, you come on. You got to have more.
All right. Well, there's the whole fact that I also requested his letter of resignation, which ended up being the Cypress District. Well, Alex did send it back. He didn't actually do a letter of resignation. He had Ron Machota send a letter to the Cypress District acknowledging that he could no longer serve because he wasn't reappointed, and there's a statute with the 2-year moratorium or whatever you want to call it. So he didn't actually do a letter of resignation. It was an acknowledgement by his attorney.
Yeah, but wait a minute. Rumor has it that you got reported to Facebook for that.
Well, I posted that. It is posted on our Facebook page, and I shared that in the Friends of Cypress Black Bayou group. And Robert reported that to the moderators and admins of the Friends of Cypress Black Bayou group, of which I'm a moderator and an admin. So I just said, "Oh yeah, I denied the report." Anyway.
Right. Well, Roger Thornhill makes a comment, and I'll let you read it. And you
yeah, he says, "Anything to get elected, please." Well, that is.
What
true.
do you think? What do you think he's meaning there?
Based on the comment a few lines above about wind blowing and changing direction, look, it's like I said. I swear I saw Robert hand his resume to Ruttenbuck at that Cypress District meeting. And when he got up there and spoke for over 15 minutes, now Weiss cut Renee Hall off at under 2 minutes. Barry spoke for 15 minutes, and I'm being a little generous there. I knew he was either politicking real hard to get hired by Manchac, or B, he was running for another office. He was just being ridiculously nice and actually helpful.
I'm surprised at you.
Why?
I'm you're slipping.
It's not a bash fest with Robert Berry.
I got no. I got to point out you are slipping because you haven't asked me. You just allowed me to skate through this, and I could let it go on and not even go there. But I would be doing this show, and everybody watching the show.
Did you ask him about the backhoe?
Oh, hello. Ding, 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 ding.
Did you ask him about the backhoe video?
Did I ask him any other questions? You're just gonna let me go through this.
Sorry. I was on my soapbox. You know how I get when I'm on my soapbox about the Cypress District.
I mean, I'm
Did you ask him, and what
thinking,
did he
I'm
say?
thinking the 80 to 90 people here want to know, is that all you talked about was Robert Berry calls Duke Lowry and all you talked about was term limits?
Did y'all talk about 3-letter agencies? Anything else?
What kind of amateur journalist do you think I am? Heck yeah, I
A
asked another
professional
question.
amateur journalist.
Heck yeah, I asked another question. And I guess you want to know the answer and you want to know the question.
I do. I want to know what he had to say about that blasted backhoe video.
Well, I didn't say I asked him about that.
Oh, okay.
But
Well,
what I am telling you is I did take the opportunity to ask a very important question. And what may be surprising to you and everybody else watching is he gave me a very direct answer. And
really?
He answered the question. And I got to tell you, it's plausible. It caught me off guard. It caught me off guard, but he went further and he said that he wants to come on Bossier Watch.
Well, this is going to be great.
But he can't until the litigation is done.
Well, that's going to be like maybe even after the election, but it'll still be interesting.
Maybe so, but I am telling you, I asked him a direct question on one specific issue that was a big issue. He had an answer, and it was a plausible answer. And he said, I can't talk about all those issues. He said, I respect y'all's opinion. And he said, I want to come on Bossier Watch. And he said, I can't until the litigation is done. But when it's done, I'm going to come on. And he said, I'm going to tell the other side of the story.
Well, that, I think Kara is correct. Pay-per-view, baby. Who would pay $1.99 to come on here and see us go toe-to-toe with Robert Berry? Look, in all seriousness, and I've said this before, I'll give him credit where it's due. As much as I've been on his rear end and all the shenanigans out there and all that, when we had the high school and the junior league fishing tournaments out there, he was always very accommodating with that, even knowing that I was going to be the one out there shooting the video and doing that. We even spoke at the tournament last year. Anyway, so I give him credit where credit's due. You know, he's not 100% a bad guy. I just don't agree with some of the shenanigans going on out at that Cypress District, and maybe he'll be able to shed some light on it. I mean, if anybody knows inside baseball out there, it's Robert Berry.
No doubt. And I can promise you there's a lot more questions than the one question I did ask him. And he gave me a direct answer. He did. It wasn't the answer I was expecting, but he had an answer. He didn't hesitate. And, but I will say this. We've had commitments from other controversial figures in our community that said that they were going to come on the show after litigation. And to my understanding, that litigation is over with, and they still haven't come on our show yet. So, we will see.
Yeah, that could draw a huge crowd, that particular one. But anyways, look, I'm looking forward to this because, like we've said from day one, any politician or bureaucrat appointed or whatever that we talk about, or even if we're not talking about you, you're more than welcome. Everybody has our phone number. We're easy to find. You're more than welcome to reach out to Duke or to me and to come on the show. And we don't generally treat people badly. I mean, we may ask some direct questions. We may ask some tough questions, but we'll let everybody have their say.
At the end of the day, what is most consequential is that all of you in Bossier are informed on what's going on. And just like we showed the definition of fraud, that's in the statute, the politicians shouldn't have that problem. It shouldn't even be an issue for them. It should be just, look, if it's good, you lay it out there to the public. If it's bad, you lay it out there to the public. Either way, let them chew it. Don't make the decision that they aren't able to comprehend it. Give it to them. just like right now, Rex. I guess this was weird call week. I got another call. I got the call on Butch Ford and a lot of lawsuits about decisions that have been made by him and the police jury. That there's a lot of lawsuits. In fact, it's put into question just how many lawsuits in Bossier Parish there are against government for bad decisions. What was the other one? I can't even remember at the start of the
Oh,
show.
I'm drawing a total mind blank now because I got Robert Berry coming on the show on my brain.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there
Anyway,
there was that one, but I got another phone call about, hey, I got my tax bills in, my property tax bills in.
oh
It's all
yes,
it's almost doubled. And I
we
said, wait
need
a
to.
minute, do what? And they said, oh yeah, get ready. They said, you need to tell everybody on your show they better save up a little bit of money because all your property taxes are almost doubling.
Well, we need to reach out to Mr. Bobby Edmonston. He's pretty much the man when it comes to the tax assessments, and he would happily explain the reason that some taxes may be going up or whatever's going on. So maybe we'll
So
reach out to Bobby and see if he'll come on.
so we need to get all our pitchforks ready for Bobby Evanson.
Well, it's like Bobby has told me before. He's like, "Look, I do the assessments. He doesn't create the laws. He doesn't make the millages. He doesn't even collect the taxes. That's the good sheriff. He
Oh,
just
oh,
does
so
the
okay.
assessments."
So we need to get the pitchforks out for the sheriff.
Yeah, but remember they got guns.
Yeah, but wait a
Don't
minute.
go into a gunfight with a pitchfork.
Well, okay. Well, I'm playing games here. So
Ah,
wait a minute. The Bobby does the calculating, so we can't get the. It's not his fault. We can't get the pitchforks out for him because he just does the math.
all right.
The sheriff is actually the guy that has to go collect it. They got guns, so we probably don't want to get. He doesn't make the rules. He just goes and enforces the rules. So we
Right.
probably don't. And they got guns. We probably don't want to get the pitchforks after them. So, well, then whose fault is it then?
Well, it would fall right squarely back on the Bossier Parish School Board, the police jury, the city council, and our legislative overlords down in Baton Rouge.
Oh, all those dudes,
Those guys. Those
all
guys that
those
we elect.
they put reelect on their signs because they've
Right.
done such a great job that your
Right.
taxes have to go up.
Yes, those guys.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we definitely got to get Bobby on here to talk about that.
Yeah. So we'll reach out and see if we can get him on next couple of weeks. That'd be a good conversation. He generally does a good job with those kind of presentations.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
he does. He does, no doubt.
All right, Mr. Lowry. Anything else to talk about tonight?
No, no, no. We appreciate all of you radicals who have tolerated and participated in, this expression of tyranny that we are afflicting on local government and the government of the United States by informing you about the atrocities that they commit against you. We appreciate you being willing participants. Yeah, that's what
Yes.
all I got to say.
And as we close out, one more comment. Wes Marriott says, "Isn't the Cypress District a taxing authority?" Why, yes, Wes, they are. As a matter of fact, they have taxing authority over about 65 of the 81 precincts in Bossier Parish with a 1.54 millage assessed. That
And
also includes businesses,
And
of course.
how we played that song last show, the rich men north of Richmond. So and we're part of that. We're the rich men north of Bossier. I egregiously left out Golden Meadows down there because if the dam was to break on Black Bayou or Cypress, Golden Meadows on the Flat River and all
It's
that,
going right by there.
y'all going to get it too. So you
Yeah,
know what? It may be Nobo and it may be Sobo, but hey, what happens at Cypress? It affects us all, baby. We in the same boat.
that is true. All right. Well, let's wrap this up, folks. Y'all know the deal. We appreciate all of you watching. Got an email you want to send? Proton Mail's been a little quiet lately, so if you got something you want to send completely anonymous, make a free Proton Mail account. Don't put any identifying information in it. Send us an email to bossierwatch@protonmail.com from your Proton Mail account, and we'll take a look at that. We want to thank everybody. Renee Hall with her Tranzact card business. Of course, you and Kara, over 25 years in the mortgage business. with Acadiana Mortgage, Miss Julie Ferris,
Send
and
us a
her husband.
loan. Daddy needs a new pair of shoes.
Yeah. Michael and Julie Ferris with Pelican Training, and then my little companies with my little computer geek company, smartergeek.com, as well as my outdoor stuff that I, post some fishing videos every now and then. I don't make any money. It's a good hobby. So anyway, we appreciate all of you watching. We appreciate you watching, Wes, and for standing up, especially to the city council. And you've had some great articles published over there on Sobo Live. So, folks, y'all go check out sobo.live if you haven't done that. And check out Wes's stuff. We're always glad to see other people stepping up to the plate and getting information out there, too. Anything else, Mr. Lowry?
That's it, everybody. Thanks for watching the show. No updates from the AG as of yet. And hey, see y'all next week, September the 12th. Put it on your calendar. Senator Robert Mills and School Board candidate Adam Bass challenging Robert Mills. We're going to have a debate with those two guys September the 12th.
That'll be fun. I'm hitting the finish button. Let's get out of here, Mr. Lowry.
Good night.
Good night, folks.